Hi everyone, welcome back to Finesse. Today we've lined up the top 12 horror movies streaming in July 2025, available now on Amazon Prime Video, AMC Plus, and Tubi. From eerie mysteries to downright terrifying thrillers, this list offers fresh scares and chilling stories. We hope this picks guide inspires your spooky watch list. Let's not waste any time, let's dive into the scares. Number 12. A Hard Place. A Hard Place, 2025, directed by J. Horton, is a gritty and chaotic creature horror thriller that blends crime gone wrong tension with old-school monster mayhem. The story kicks off with a group of criminals on the run after a heist goes sideways. Seeking refuge in a secluded desert outpost, they quickly discover they've stumbled into something far worse than law enforcement, a lurking force of monstrous, plant-like entities tied to the land's sinister past. As night falls, the gang finds themselves outnumbered and outmatched, forced to confront not only the horrors outside, but the betrayals within. Genre veterans Felissa Rose and Lynn Lowry lead the ensemble with hardened charisma, adding gravitas to the mayhem. Rose, as a survivor with a secret, brings raw intensity, while Lowry's crime boss exudes cold resolve. The supporting cast ranges from cult favorites like Bai Ling to grizzled tough guys like Glenn Plummer, creating a chaotic dynamic that echoes classic siege thrillers. For fans of grindhouse-style horror with a splash of crime thriller energy, this is a wild, blood-soaked ride that delivers exactly what it promises. Number 11. Come Play. Directed by Jacob Chase, is a haunting and emotionally grounded supernatural thriller that blends childhood isolation with eerie digital age horror. The film centers on Oliver, a young nonverbal boy on the autism spectrum who communicates using a tablet. One night, through a mysterious story app, he encounters Larry, a lonely, monstrous entity that wants a friend and uses screens to break through into the real world. As Larry's presence grows stronger, Oliver's parents must come together to protect their son from a force they can't understand, and one that feeds on emotional disconnection. Azzy Robertson gives a sensitive and believable performance as Oliver, capturing the vulnerability and strength of a child caught between two worlds. Gillian Jacobs and John Gallagher Jr. portray his struggling parents with raw, conflicted emotion, elevating what could have been standard roles into something more resonant and heartfelt. For fans of quiet, character-driven horror with a tech twist, Come Play is a thoughtful and eerie experience. Number 10. The Love Witch, directed by Anna Biller, is a visually hypnotic and subversively sharp horror thriller that mixes vintage camp with modern feminist commentary. The story follows Elaine, a beautiful young witch who relocates to a quiet California town in search of true love. Armed with potions, spells, and a dangerously romantic idealism, she seduces man after man, only to watch each fall apart when they can't live up to her fantasy. As her pursuit grows darker and more delusional, the line between enchantment and madness begins to blur, leading to a deadly reckoning. Samantha Robinson dazzles in the lead role, channeling old Hollywood glamour while delivering a performance that's both seductive and unsettling. She embodies Elaine with a perfect blend of vulnerability and control, turning her into a modern mythic figure, part femme fatale, part tragic anti-hero. Every frame of The Love Witch is a visual feast, lavishly designed with bold colors, ornate sets, and handcrafted costumes. For fans of art house horror with bite and brains, The Love Witch casts a spell that lingers long after the credits roll. Number 9. Z, directed by Brandon Christensen, is a slow-burning psychological horror that transforms the classic imaginary friend trope into a sinister, emotionally fraught experience. The film follows Beth, a mother whose young son, Joshua, suddenly befriends an eerie imaginary companion named Z. At first dismissing it as a harmless phase, Beth soon discovers that Z's influence is terrifyingly real, manifesting through violent outbursts, disturbing behavior, and a haunting presence that grows more malevolent with each passing day. As secrets from her own past begin to unravel, Beth is forced to confront the terrifying possibility that Z may be more connected to her than she ever imagined. Keegan-Connor Tracy delivers a gripping lead performance as Beth, capturing the film's emotional heart. Her descent from protective parent to unraveling survivor is both raw and restrained, grounding the horror in authentic fear. Young Jet Klein impresses as Joshua, balancing innocence and menace in a way that intensifies the film's tension. If you're drawn to intelligent, slow-burn psychological horror like The Babadook or Lights Out, Z delivers a haunting experience that creeps under your skin and stays with you well beyond the closing credits. Number 8. The Wind, directed by Emma Tammy, is a moody and psychological horror western that weaves atmospheric dread into the bleak, windswept backdrop of the American frontier. Set in the late 1800s, the film follows Lizzie, a resilient frontierswoman struggling with solitude while her husband is away. When another couple settles nearby, her fragile sense of reality begins to unravel as eerie occurrences, howling winds, spectral visions, and unexplained deaths suggest something sinister stalking the plains. As Lizzie's grip on reason deteriorates, the film blurs the line between supernatural horror and psychological breakdown. Caitlin Gerard commands the screen with a quiet but forceful performance, portraying Lizzie's emotional decline with subtle intensity. Her portrayal captures the weight of frontier survival and the terror of being truly alone. The minimal cast allows Gerard's performance to breathe, anchoring the film's slow-burn pacing with emotional authenticity and raw vulnerability. With its stark visuals, feminist themes, and creeping tension, this is a gothic tale for fans of The Witch or Saint Maud, introspective horror that unsettles more with silence than screams. Number 7. 68 Kill, directed by Trent Haga, is a wild, stick-to-the-wall crime thriller that injects pulpy noir with dark humor and explosive energy. Born from Haga's trauma-infused roots, the film hurtles through a chaotic heist gone awry, twisted romance, and bloody showdowns, always driven by its unnervingly unpredictable tone. The movie centers on Chip, a meek septic tank cleaner, hopelessly enamored with his dangerous, sexy girlfriend Liza. When she ropes him into stealing $68,000 from her sugar daddy's safe, the plan spirals into a relentless crime spree. As bodies stack up and allegiances fracture, Chip must navigate psychotic lovers, kidnapped accomplices, and surprise betrayals, while barely keeping his own head on straight. McCord steals every scene as the alluring sociopath Liza, oozing charisma and ruthless survival instinct. She's the true engine of the film. Goobler provides an effective counterpoint, embodying Chip's naivete and slow realization that love can be lethal. The supporting trio of Violet and murderous Monica add layers of fury and flair, turning the film into a chaotic ensemble playground. If you're up for a brutal, messy, and defiantly female-driven crime story that refuses to play by the rules, this one's worth the trip. Number 6. Smile 2, directed by Parker Finn, is a stylish and nerve-jangling psychological horror sequel that blends emotional trauma with supernatural dread. The story follows Sky Riley, a rising pop star who begins to experience disturbing visions and unsettling encounters after witnessing a traumatic suicide. As the now familiar smiling curse takes hold, she spirals into a world of paranoia, guilt, and public scrutiny. What begins as a private descent into fear soon explodes into a full-blown nightmare that threatens not just her sanity, but her career and life itself. Naomi Scott delivers a gripping lead performance, capturing the fragility and duality of a woman torn between stardom and survival. Her emotional range grounds the film's more surreal moments, while the supporting cast adds intensity and unpredictability, especially in scenes where horror collides with the artificial glitz of celebrity life. For fans of elevated horror with a commercial edge, Number 5. Antiviral, directed by Brandon Cronenberg, is a cold, cerebral sci-fi horror film that fuses body horror with biting satire on celebrity culture. The story follows Sid March, a pale, reclusive technician who works for a biotech company that sells pathogens harvested from celebrities, allowing obsessed fans to be infected with the same viruses as their idols. When Sid illegally injects himself with a virus from superstar Hannah Geist, he becomes entangled in a conspiracy of corporate exploitation, biological decay, and media-fueled madness. Caleb Landry Jones delivers a raw, unsettling performance as Sid, fully embodying the film's themes of physical and psychological breakdown. His gaunt appearance and twitchy intensity are hypnotic to watch, while Sarah Gadon brings an ethereal eeriness to Hannah, whose celebrity image haunts the film like a ghost. The supporting cast, including Malcolm McDowell, reinforces the cold, clinical tone with subtle menace. It's a deeply uncomfortable film, one that forces viewers to confront the grotesque extremes of consumerism and fame. For fans of high-concept sci-fi and unsettling cinema in the vein of Videodrome or Under the Skin, Antiviral is a disturbing, thought-provoking debut that marks Brandon Cronenberg as a bold new voice in dystopian storytelling. Number 4. Only Lovers Left Alive, directed by Jim Jarmusch, is a hypnotic and melancholic vampire film that fuses gothic romance with meditative existentialism. The story revolves around Adam and Eve, two centuries-old vampire lovers played by Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton. Adam, a reclusive musician in decaying Detroit, is weary of humanity's self-destruction, while Eve, living in the mystic glow of Tangier, retains a deeper connection to life and art. When they reunite, their love offers comfort in a world they no longer understand, but their fragile peace is threatened by the arrival of Eve's impulsive sister, Ava. Hiddleston and Swinton are magnetic, embodying their immortal roles with poetic weariness and quiet intimacy. Their chemistry is less fiery passion and more like two souls entangled for centuries, filled with subtle glances, shared histories, and existential musings. Mia Wasikowska brings chaos to the narrative as Ava, while John Hurt offers a touching, if brief, turn as fellow vampire Christopher Marlowe. For viewers who crave thoughtful, visually lush storytelling with a philosophical bite, this is Jarmusch at his most undead and most alive. Number 3. Pontipool, directed by Bruce McDonald, is an eerie and cerebral horror thriller that reimagines the apocalypse through the power of language. Known for his unconventional storytelling, McDonald crafts a claustrophobic, idea-driven nightmare that trades traditional zombie tropes for psychological suspense and linguistic terror. Set in a snowbound radio station in rural Ontario, the film follows shock jock Grant Mazzy as strange reports trickle in. People are speaking gibberish, becoming violent, and something sinister is spreading. But it's not a virus in the traditional sense. As the situation unravels, Mazzy and his crew realize the infection is transmitted through language itself. Certain English words have become deadly, turning speech into a vector of madness. Stephen McHattie is magnetic as Mazzy, delivering a performance that swings between swaggering skepticism and quiet dread. His deep, commanding voice becomes the film's most potent weapon and most dangerous tool. Lisa Houle and Georgina Riley offer grounded, compelling support, bringing heart to a film steeped in cerebral horror. Visually minimalist but conceptually dense, Pontipool thrives on tension, sound design, and a creeping sense of the uncanny. For fans of smart, stripped-down horror with a philosophical bite, Pontipool is a haunting, unforgettable experience. Number 2. Red State, directed by Kevin Smith, is a bold and politically charged thriller that sharply veers away from Smith's comedic roots. Instead, he crafts a brutal and unsettling horror drama that takes aim at religious extremism, government overreach, and American gun culture. The story begins with 3 teenage boys, lured by the promise of an online hookup, and only to find themselves abducted by a fanatical religious cult led by the fire and brimstone preacher Abin Cooper. What starts as a disturbing hostage scenario spirals into a bloody standoff between the cult and federal agents, turning the small-town setting into a war zone fueled by fanaticism and fear. Michael Parks is hypnotic as Cooper, delivering blistering sermons with unsettling conviction. Equal parts charming and terrifying, John Goodman brings a weary gravitas as the ATF agent caught in the middle, while the young cast, including Kyle Gallner and Nicholas Braun, ground the horror with raw vulnerability. Red State is unpredictable, unrelenting, and deliberately provocative. Smith ditches traditional horror aesthetics for a gritty, grounded realism, leaning into moral gray zones and bursts of violence that feel all too plausible. Number 1. Naseratu, directed by Robert Eggers, is a visually decadent and nightmarishly elegant horror revival that channels the spirit of German expressionism through a modern lens. Known for his immersive world-building and dread-soaked narratives, Eggers transforms the iconic vampire legend into a gothic opera of obsession, decay, and fatal beauty. The film follows Thomas Hutter, a real estate clerk who travels to Transylvania to assist the reclusive Count Orlok, an ancient vampire with ghastly features and a hunger that defies time. As Orlok sets his eyes on Hutter's wife, Ellen, a slow-burning tale of possession and sacrifice unfolds, drenched in shadow and soaked in melancholic tension. Bill Skarsgård is utterly unrecognizable and magnetic as Count Orlok. His gaunt, contorted figure and predatory stillness embody a kind of horror that is both ancient and tragic. Opposite him, Lily Rose Depp brings a hypnotic vulnerability to Ellen, grounding the film's emotional weight in human fragility. Nicholas Hoult offers a sympathetic lens as Hutter, caught between reason and madness. Eggers doesn't rely on jump scares or modern horror tropes. Instead, Nosferatu is a richly textured, slow-building nightmare. With painterly cinematography, a bone-chilling score, and meticulous period detail, it feels like a cursed painting brought to life. For fans of moody, atmospheric horror that lingers like a ghost, Nosferatu is both a reverent homage and a terrifying new vision.